Alright, so we're going to do a rear bumper, and I didn't get a chance to replace that back C piece off the frame. That's going to have to wait till spring, simply because I don't have a covered place to work, and I'm going to have to take the body off and get that off. I did run into a fellow who is another scout guy and used to have his own shop, so he's probably going to help me with a cut and turn. Very excited about that, and I'll do a separate video on that. But this is it. We're going to take some angle iron, and we're going to run an angle iron piece on top, angle iron piece on bottom, fill in with plate, then double it up with the bolts in here, and then we're going to run our tubing off there, and I'll show you what I got. Alright, well, I had this 2x5 from the front bumper, and I didn't use it for the winch, so that'll be a little bit extra. When you're going to see, I might just build a T off there onto the flat plate. I also have some nice 3x2 that I can run, but I might save this for another project. So what I got is a 2x5 box, very thick walled, but got it out of the scrap bin so I didn't have to pay as much. Cold rolled, and this will be the beast back bumper. And if I can find someone in town who's got a bigger welder, we might try and put a 2-inch receiver in the back as well. Now for rear area lighting, especially right now that I don't have the canopy on, is we're going to take these. This was a failed experiment of using the oven, and you know what, I've got another video I'll attach at the end of here of my lighting experiment basically, but this should be big enough to put into here. I may add this guy on the bottom in a couple spots just to increase the surface area. I don't really want to cut this all the way through because I think it'll pull the strength down, but if I can put in my light recess just on the inside of my support that goes back to the frame, I think I'll be alright. So basically we're going to have 2 area lights, and I'll include the footage at the end of what I'm playing around with for maybe reverse or supplement auxiliary rear lighting, whether I'm loading something or setting up a tent or something. There's always uses for extra lighting, of course, but this is the beginning stages of our bumper. Alright, another project of mine. We talked about affordable off-road lights, and I showed you the PAR 36, the typical 4.5 inch lights that are very, I guess, popular size. This is a very popular backup light for a semi-truck, exact same size. It is completely sealed. It uses the same sort of waterproof pigtail design that I've shown you before. It is strange. It takes a 3-prong pigtail, but you only use 2 of them. There's a ground and power for the bulb, simply because I believe this housing is probably used for all their lights. So, you know, even though that one's not used, you have an extra pigtail. Well, when you open this guy up, I tried to do it the way a lot of retrofit HID guys open up their headlights for their cars. You put it in your oven about 300 degrees for about 5-10 minutes, and it loosens up the adhesive just enough. Sometimes it's, you know, a little hot to handle when you do things like that, but it loosens it just enough for you to just screwdriver in. Once you kind of get one side, then the rest of it sort of peels away. You get it cleaned up, and you actually use the Brutrol rubber adhesive back on there, and everything gets sealed up and waterproof, and it looks just like a professional rolled off the assembly line look. Well, I tried that with this one, and I don't believe they didn't use the same adhesive. It's definitely some sort of a plastic epoxy or something to seal this together. So I actually took my Dremel and used a cutoff wheel. One thing about that was, you know, it'll melt a little bit. You can see there's a little black on there. So I got it cleaned up It's a pretty close, tight fit. When I seal these back up, I'll use a 2-part epoxy, so there shouldn't be any issues with waterproofing. The surprise came when my plans of installing 6 LEDs. This is from a company called Rigid Industry. They're actually one of the bigger off-road LED manufacturers and developers of this new technology for off-road lights. And they had a neat little product called an RV light. And essentially, this pigtail had an adapter to go into your sockets of all your overhead lighting for RVs, toy hauler trailers, stuff like that. And the goal was not just get to the draw down, because LEDs just need so much less electricity, so you're not pulling down batteries, you're not worried about your truck battery dying just because you got the RV light overhead because you're working on your dirt bike or something. This one has 6 LEDs. They do have one that has 3, so every other one is missing. It was 350 lumens. This one was supposed to be 400 lumens. And I thought that's incredible. At $25, I get a small 400 lumen LED, and I will simply affix it behind here. And initially, I was going to remove that bulb and wire it straight out, reseal this up, and I would have LED, basically a flood. I mentioned before those aircraft lights that fit in there for the affordable off-road lights. It's a very tight spot beam, and so this was just my, put an LED in there. I don't have to worry about bulbs going out. It's got a super low draw of power, and I'll affix it probably to a switch, a separate switch. Right now I'm in the middle of redesigning my rear bumper. The surprise came. I decided that because this pigtail has an extra spot, and there's an extra spot on there, so what I did was I soldered on the female end of the pigtail, shared the ground, and then I soldered it into that same connection. So now I have a common ground, which is the white, and I have one that goes to the LED and one goes to the bulb. And I thought, well, maybe it'll just be double feature. I wasn't really sure how I was going to hook it up. Wanted to test everything to make sure that I got the soldering on there solid. And when I hook this up, and we'll do it here in a second, I'll put the camera on the ceiling and just give you an idea. I hooked up the regular bulb, and it was pretty bright. You've got this nice cover on here which diffuses the light. Like I said, our semi trucks and stuff pretty primarily use these for backup lights, not their utility lights, but just for their backup lights. Pretty good bulb. I was pretty impressed. Plugged in the LED thinking this is just gonna blow it out of the water, right? Not true. I was really unimpressed with this claimed 400 lumens. Now this isn't some cheap Chinese company thing, and I got another video I'll show you later that I experimented with getting some of those, and I was super disappointed. So my thought is I'm actually going to probably glue this LED in here, seal these housings back up, and then at a later date I can choose to do both. I may hook up the LEDs to the reverse light since there's no draw. I'll run it through the stock system, and then maybe on a switch I'll control that bulb on there. I'm in the middle of looking. There's no writing on this bulb whatsoever. It doesn't give wattage outputs or anything like that for the housing. So I'm kind of trying to find out what the wattage is on that. Now clearly that's going to burn out, but these are only about $5, these housings with this bulb in them, so they're considered disposable. They burn out. You change the whole housing out. With all this work I'm doing to it, I don't really want to have to unseal this epoxy and stuff that I put in there, so I'm sort of double thinking that. But this is at the beginning stages of this project and part of redoing the bumpers. But I will kill the lights and I'll put the camera to the ceiling, and I'll just put a quick jump box on here and show you. Now again, this isn't a spotlight. This is an area light. That is the stock incandescent light. I'll unhook that. I'll hook up the LED. You can see it's a wider light, but it's definitely not as bright. Not at all. And you can tell this, I'll leave the LED hooked up and I'll jumper in the bulb. That's the bulb with the LED. Bulb in the LED. And it just washes out the LED. That there's so much power in there. So, to be continued. Short little comparison here. I'll show you. Supposed to turn the lights on. I bought, it's called an MR16 bulb. Now you probably can't tell on there, but it's a very tight, more of a spot beam on here. But this thing is incredibly bright. Runs off to 12 volts. And I'll turn the lights on and show you what I'm working with here. So you just saw a demo of what I'm playing around with here. This little guy is an MR16 replacement. It's LED. I'll put info down below because I don't remember all the specs. I believe it was supposed to only be about 300 lumens, something like that. It is made to hook up to the MR16. You'll see a lot of these like in track lighting and stuff. A lot of them are wired for 120 volts. This one is actually wired for 12 volts. So I just have a couple wires just shoved on here and then use my jump box to power it. These I'd kind of forgot about initially, especially when I was ordering these. This isn't waterproof by any means, and I don't know about the heat output yet, but very impressed. And again, I'll put the link. The shipping on this was one of the reasons I wouldn't recommend it. The company was called Deal Extreme, and it all comes from separate sourced warehouses, and it all comes from Hong Kong. So it has to go through the port, it has to come through customs, and it took over a month to get. The tracking is bogus. You can't, I think it took weeks before I even knew it was at the port. It was at the port like the 6th of this month, and then it took another 2.5 weeks to get here in Oregon. So very disappointed because I bought one of each. The other project I won't even go into because it probably won't work anyway. But I bought some actually just the LEDs, the drivers that you see attached to this board, that I was going to wire up and run my own drivers and create my own LED lights. I don't know that that'll work for the application for fog lamps that I was going to use. So not sure what I'm going to do with this, but it's a shame that I only ordered one because I'm very impressed with the output that is. So, and I'll put the links down. I think it was like 20 bucks or something like that, but that's compared to this guy at 24 bucks. And we'll see. I have another product coming from the Rigid Industries that's actually back ordered, so when it gets here we'll do some product evaluations of that. But that's my project so far, and like I said, to be continued. I'll let you know what I decide.